flew into Dublin Airport increased by 11% last week. It involved 4,828 people, with British being the top nationality. 7,012 Irish residents also arrived into the airport last week, down 3% on the previous week, but the total figure for all arrivals was up 2%. Cannabis worth an estimated €1.8 million has been seized in Cork. Revenue officers discovered 90 kilos of cannabis herb in a Polish registered van that arrived on a ferry to Ringaskiddy from Roscoff in France. The driver, a Polish man in his 20s, was arrested by Gardaí. And finally, Buckingham Palace has called allegations of racism raised by Meghan and Harry's Oprah Winfrey interview concerning. The statement, issued on behalf of the Queen, says the issues will be addressed privately, and it insists the Sussexes remain much loved members of the family. It's 9:02.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to the AA. For our most competitive van insurance, go to the AA.ie.
Wet and windy tonight, but the rain will clear eastwards overnight. Lowest temperatures of 2 to 5 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Football Show on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Only the cream of the crop pick up Champions League medals. Jonathan Greening's got one. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
Welcome along. Busy football show for you this evening. Later on we'll hear from Louise Quinn, the Irish international playing for Fiorentina these days. She's in the midst of a first and second leg on Thursday tie against Manchester City. 3-0 down. City are rather awesome, but we'll check in with Louise all the same. Life in Italy and how she's feeling about Thursday. Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent, hello.
Hi Joe, how are things?
Yeah, very well. So 20-year-old Erling Braut Haaland continues to do amazing things. Latest in the Champions League, if you're just tuning in, Cristiano Ronaldo and Juventus not in great shape. They're 1-0 down at home to Porto. That means they're 3-1 down on aggregate. Porto obviously now have an away goal as well. So in serious danger of crashing out, you would think, Pirlo and Ronaldo and Juventus. As for Borussia Dortmund, Haaland has scored for them this evening. He had scored 2 against Sevilla in the first leg. So it's Borussia Dortmund 1-0 on the night, 4-2 up on aggregate and looking good. I was mentioning some of Haaland's stats to Nathan and Richie at the start of the show. They are quite ridiculous. So last year, his Salzburg-Dortmund season, he scored 40 goals in 40 games. Not too shabby. And so this season, slightly higher level, he now has 36 goals in 34 appearances, which is just insane. Scored 2 against Bayern at the weekend as well. In the Messi era as well, Champions League, he was the first teenager to score in 5 consecutive Champions League games. So he's most certainly the first teenage player to update that stat and have scored in 6 consecutive Champions League games. And the last one I'll give you, Dan, I'm throwing lots of numbers at you here. So the record for quickest player to hit 20 Champions League goals was Harry Kane. He got off to a lightning start and scored 20 Champions League goals in his first 24 games, which was outrageously good from Harry Kane. We now have Haaland after 14 Champions League games, and he has 19 goals. So, if my maths are correct, he has 10 games to score 1 goal to break the old Harry Kane record. I reckon he's going to break it by some distance. It's outrageous what's happening here.
Yeah, I was worried there for a second. It was like you're going to quiz me on that trivia or something in a couple of seconds' time. What is it? I mean, the Harry Kane one, actually, I'm just thinking, obviously would have, just because Harry Kane actually scored his first competitive goal for Spurs in Dublin against Shamrock Rovers in the Europa League. And he was probably 19, 20 at that stage, like the age Haaland is now. So, he would have been a bit older when he played that number of Champions League games, if you know what I mean. So the fact that Haaland, even at 20, is being compared with that, it's not even fair. And I mean, if he doesn't score in the 10 games, which I don't think is going to happen, to suggest he's fallen short in any way, I'm not sure if Kane had even scored a Champions League goal when he was 20. So, that says it all. I mean, it's terrifyingly good. I think we always spoke during the Messi and Ronaldo years, which I suppose are ongoing, but they're in the final furlong. It's pretty obvious to say it. Like the stats, they played X amount of games and scored more goals than appearances. It's almost for people of a certain age who played Championship Manager when they were younger. They're the type of stats that you would think was almost like a cheat, a flaw in the game that it's not the done thing that someone could score, 40 goals in 40 games or even over and above that. Yet, his trajectory is such that you just don't know when he's going to stop scoring at that level. In fact, he's just scored again, I think, as we speak. So, I mean, he's also got a brilliant knack for radio-based timing. I know you don't quite have it in front of you at the moment, I don't think, because there's a few games going on and stuff. But in the Dortmund game now, he has just barreled a hapless Sevilla defender out of the way and scored. And that's the thing, he scores all types of different goals. I mean, this is about sheer power and strength. It's like a Dortmund move starting deep in their own half. 2 quick passes played through. But he gets the ball to 10 yards inside the Sevilla half. He runs at a defender, plays a quick 1-2, and just sort of shoves a couple of Sevilla players out of the way and scoops the ball up over the keeper. Sevilla players may be stopping, looking for a foul of some description or something, but it's pure athleticism and power and strength, and we're waiting to see if there's some kind of review here. But really, it just looks like the sheer force of his power that he tries, a player, it's a collision of shoulders. I think it's Fernando just bounces off him, and he stands up and clips it in, and there is no review ongoing. It's 2-0. It's 5-2 in aggregate, I think. Oh, hang on. Wait a minute. There's a referee pausing. This is the modern football celebration, so we'll give it a second.
Okay.
We'll give it a second.
I was about to...
He is good.
He is. I was about to update things and say he has now smashed Harry Kane's record by hitting 20 goals in 14 games. So he did it in 10 games fewer than Harry Kane. We'll see if it's given or not. The thing which is really being discussed now, and which Uli Hesse talked to us about at 7:30, is that Dortmund look in danger of missing out on Champions League qualification for next season. And like everything with Haaland, that now puts him ahead of schedule to leave. As in, when he first joined and he signed that contract to take him to 2022, everybody thought, well, he'll settle in at Dortmund for 2 to 3, who knows, maybe even 4 years. He'll still be very young. He'll still be only 22 years of age if he stays 4 years, before moving on, the next big move to a Galactico, a giant club. And yet here he is at 20, and it seems this 2, 3, 4 year period at Dortmund is basically over already. As things stand, his contract expires in 2022, and yet he has a €105 million buyout clause. Now, I'm sure when they signed him as a 19-year-old, they probably thought that buyout clause was steep enough, 105 million, He's 19, he's going to take some time to settle in, surely. Suddenly, 105 million is a bargain, and if you were to if you were to not sign him this summer when you had the chance for 105 million, I mean, you're going to have him for 10 years. That's 10 million a year. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It seems Chelsea are ahead of the queue based on all the reports, and also Real Madrid, and they'll find money somehow despite talk of financial instability there in the stadium and everything else. They are conscious they need to replace Benzema, and they're always the type of club that sign a Haaland type anyway. So it seems Real Madrid and Chelsea are ahead of the queue for that 105 million buyout clause this summer, and obviously Dortmund in danger of missing out in Champions League qualification as well. So the point is, ahead of schedule, I thought we would be talking about Haaland at Dortmund for a couple of years. I suspect he'll be gone in the summer.
Yes, I mean, so there's chaos ongoing here, by the way, Joe. Sorry that they've the goal has been disallowed, but then it appeared that in the play prior to that, there was a foul that went unchecked, a pull on the shirt of Haaland in the box. So the goal was chalked off for a foul, but they've now been awarded a penalty, retrospectively.
Okay.
So, sorry, it's just it's all sort of kicking off here, and the Sevilla players sort of perplexed. The player who fouled him got booked, and there's now a penalty kick, and Haaland has the ball in his hands. So while I'm waiting for him to take the penalty. It is true. I mean, I know that this Super League, all this talk is ongoing about, where maybe teams that are very good don't need to qualify for the Champions League eventually, which is probably a subject for another day. It's disgraceful. But you are right, obviously in the short term, it's sort of unthinkable that Haaland couldn't play in the Champions League. That the Champions League could take place next year. But now, I suppose if Liverpool miss out, I mean, there will be other, top players in Europe not playing in it, but it does feel like it might force the situation. Though the only point is, transfer fees during the pandemic. I know you said the release clause is there when the clubs do it. His penalty has been saved, hit the post, replay, and the rebound has been saved. So Harry Kane is safe, Joe. Harry Kane is safe. It's been pushed onto the post, so the game is still alive. A bit of drama, but I think you're right. I wonder, does it force the hand? Even though the clause is there, the exit clause is there, you kind of wonder, yeah, like what, like where does he go though? Because we hear about like, you know, Barcelona's financial situation and his presidency stuff ongoing there. Like, you know, you probably have contributors to the show who are far more on top of the real politic of sort of what's going on with those clubs. But
well, I was saying it's Chelsea and Real Madrid reportedly front of the queue, and I don't see how Man City wouldn't be interested. Maybe a Haaland type with all that pace and power and bustling energy and not great hold-up play is not a Pep Guardiola type player, genuinely. I mean, you know, stranger things have happened, but it does seem like Chelsea and Madrid are ready to move based on reports. Look, these things can change, obviously.
Joe, like I'm trying to follow up this point, but so they're now retaking the penalty because the goalkeeper has encroached off the line.
This is a joke.
So they've gone down the other end of the pitch. Sevilla have gone on the attack, and now because the Sevilla keeper come off his line, they've obviously been called through that this is illegal conduct from the keeper, and they have to go back to the other end and take the penalty again. Right. So Harry Kane's record is now under threat. It feels like the minute you produce that stat, it suddenly became unbelievably vulnerable. So they're having another pop at it now. I apologise for this, Joe. You're asking coherent questions and very relevant. But like, this game is just, the stuff keeps happening.
No, it's okay. I'm appreciating the live reports. I have another pertinent question about the Irish.
And he scored.
Injury situation. I was going to ask, how far are we away from him scoring or taking the penalty? So he scored. So Harry's record's gone again.
But there's Sevilla players running after him, his celebration, and there's now a bit of schmozzle taking place by the sideline between Sevilla players and Dortmund players. So really, this game is bizarre. But the referee's in the middle of it. We've seen more of the referee on the screen in the last few minutes now than we have any referee in a previous game. It does appear like this penalty was legal, so I don't know why the Sevilla players are angry. Oh, sorry. Haaland, in scoring, went over and taunted the Sevilla goalkeeper. That is what has prompted their reaction. So he's got a bit of personality about him too, and he looks like he's got booked for that. But he got in the player's face, and it's now being dragged away by his teammates from Sevilla players who are angry. Okay. So there we go.
Harry Kane's record's gone. I don't even care about it anymore. The last few minutes.
Sorry, Joe. Sorry. Let's go on to something else. This game is over now anyway. So
it is, yeah. Dortmund through. So, look, I want to ask you about the Dundalk situation. But Ireland, first of all, I heard you with John and Johnny Ward and David Myler on Saturday. And it was kind of bleak when you painted the picture from a Stephen Kenny perspective. I mean, he has not had much luck or many things go his way, in fairness to him, as Ireland manager thus far. And I think David Myler made the point that at the end of the last very odd international window with COVID everywhere and injuries everywhere and just, so many things going wrong, the message he would have given all the players was go away, play for your clubs, and let's come back in good shape for the World Cup qualifiers. That's from an Irish point of view, that's what you want. And where we are is it's just not good. James McCarthy has suffered a reoccurrence of the groin injury, which has hampered most of his season. To quote Roy Hodgson, pie in the sky is the talk that he might be able to play for Ireland. So James McCarthy out. Seamus Coleman continues to struggle to shake off whatever injury he has since the win at Anfield. We have the Duffy situation at Celtic, which continues. We have John Egan out. He's out for, I think, another month and a half at least with his foot injury, something like innocuous and out of nowhere. But suddenly Duffy and Egan, that partnership goes. You have Dave McGoldrick, retirement, obviously. Very unfortunate. Matt Doherty sort of back in a bit of late with, developing a bit of a partnership with Gareth Bale, which is something. Dara O'Shea and Kieran Clark are playing. I mentioned Duffy and John Egan. Dara O'Shea was hauled off after 23 minutes by Sam Allardyce in one of their early games, and you thought, well, that is ominous. He has seen something here he really doesn't like, but it turned out it was tactical on Big Sam's part. And interestingly, Dara O'Shea is now playing in his preferred position of centre-half as opposed to right-back. Often younger players who are aspiring centre-halves are put out right or left-back for a while to grow into senior football. So that's very promising, and Dara O'Shea's on his front, and Kieran Clark played for Newcastle. They drew 0-0 at the weekend. So look, I'm sure Stephen Kenny was watching that game very, very closely. There are probably other injuries I'm not mentioning. You probably have them to hand. But the overall picture and the point you guys were making on Saturday is that if any of us were to sit down now and try and name the likely Irish starting 11, it's very, very difficult because of lack of first-team football for so many what you would hope would be cornerstones of the team.
Yeah, very much so. I think it might have been Johnny who said on Saturday you could almost have 200 people who could give you 200 different teams, And I really think there are that many permutations on hand for pretty much all the reasons that you lay out. I think you've covered most of them. The players that are out, and like I suppose when weekends, when we have weekends of action, say in England, like you're looking for good news stories from them, and we've been short of them recently. I suppose you had that West Brom Newcastle game at the weekend where O'Shea and Clark played quite well. I referenced it in a piece on Monday. I think, I heard Kenny Cunningham speak about it. Stephen Elliott's been on recently. I completely understand the point of view that they've offered. I think more so Stephen Elliott was stronger on it that Duffy could come back in. He's back to a familiar setup. He's been a big player for Ireland. He's done very little wrong for Ireland, really. And how could you drop him, for want of a better phrase? But I think even with the stuff about his form and how things have been, and we all know it's been, his form has been very poor at Celtic, and that's got to have an impact on his confidence. And I don't like being too harsh on Duffy because he's had a pretty hard year personally and stuff. So you don't want to make this, you don't want to be very unfair in how you phrase it. But at the same time, he now hasn't played since February the 14th. And if he doesn't play between now and the team meeting up, you're talking March the 24th. For a player who already was struggling with his form, and then you add 5-6 weeks without a game, if that comes to pass, I think it gets to the stage, even if you're missing Egan and you want that familiarity and he's a big threat from set pieces and stuff, I think he's potentially vulnerable, definitely. And this is why at least O'Shea and Clark playing, I think Kenny Cunningham outlined how they could work as a partnership, and it's something to look at. But I mean, in a weird way, in the Stephen Kenny era, listen, the main problem still has been scoring goals. I mean, yes, they have conceded some bad goals, but it's been largely 1-0, 0-0, with the exception, I suppose, of the England friendly. That actually, defensively, they've been strained at times, but it's been more individual moments in a game rather than, say, a being hugely open. They rather than being over the top. And O'Shea came in November untested and did quite well. So you sort of feel that they're still capable of putting out a side that can be reasonably solid. But you're still looking at where the goals actually come from, the form of those players, and even the shape of the midfield is very hard. And listen, I could throw out 8 names here that could potentially be in the midfield 3 off the top of my head, really. And it's not ridiculous to suggest they will all play. That they could all play.
Mm-hmm. Well, then maybe that's more a good problem. Maybe that's more embarrassment to riches territory there, is it?
Well, no, but I'm not sure, because I don't think you have someone like Josh Cullen, for example, who's doing very well, probably one of the form players of the season, playing over in Anderlecht. I haven't seen him play myself, but speaking to people who have, they say he's doing very well, and I gather that hasn't gone unnoticed in the Irish camp. But he's a very specific type of, say, a number 6 type player, and you probably need a different type of player next to him than you might need next to, say, James McCarthy. So any players you have in form, Jason Knight is more box to box. It affects the shape of other decisions that you make. But ultimately, they still have a situation where James Collins at Luton has scored more goals than any of the other strikers. Aaron Connolly hasn't had a great season scoring-wise. Adam Ida's just coming back to fitness. Troy Parrott's still waiting for a goal. There is still a big question mark over where the goal actually comes from. And if you have concerns at the other end of the pitch, the Darren Randolph one is a slight issue, that he came back for one game and he's gone again. That's a worry. So, but listen, Serbia for balance, we always fixate on our own problems. I suppose it's natural, that's what you do. Serbia have a new manager in. His first squad, he left a couple of players out. They've 1 or 2 players have defected to Montenegro. There seems to be a bit of internal stuff going on there. So we always tend to look through the Irish glasses and their issues and problems. But Serbia seem to have a bit of stuff going on too. So it's not always a presumption that they're in great form and you have to breach that. They're a bit hot and cold. They lost out. They've been very good at times, but also got knocked out of the Euros on penalties to Scotland after a game in Belgrade. So they're not exactly impenetrable on their own patch, but we'll have plenty of time probably to pour over the details of that match again. But the broader point stands that, no, sitting down tomorrow, you couldn't pick an 11 with any confidence. Definitely not.
Filippo Giovagnoli came in and swept in and stole all our hearts last year. Dundalk manager, Europa League group stages, and Dundalk were fined €50,000 last year because he was shadow coaching in the Europa League without the necessary qualifications, and this was seen as an issue because he didn't have a pro licence, as in what would Dundalk do going forward. Jim Magilton has come in as sporting director, and Dundalk have now officially appointed Shane Keegan as first team manager, replacing Giovagnoli, who is now stepping back to the position of coach. So this is a very interesting story, obviously, and Jim Magilton's been talking about it, and he says that ultimately the team will be picked collectively. He said the buck will stop with Shane Keegan, though he's the manager. It's all unorthodox, I suppose, for want of a better word. What's your read on what's happening here, or is it that unorthodox?
Yeah, this is a sort of a strange old story, all right, although I suppose in League of Ireland land we're used to it to some degree. I mean, previously Vinnie Perth was Dundalk manager, but he couldn't be called manager, and he was like head coach, and he had another person, John Gill, on the coaching staff. But it was almost like it was a nod and a wink thing where everyone knew that Vinnie Perth was the boss. No, he just couldn't be called the manager. You go to games, you look at the sideline, you know who's in charge. Players would speak about who's picking the team and all of that. And like that, and there's been several situations like that in the league in recent years. Like I remember a time when Dundalk went down to play in Cork when they were really fierce rivals, and the Cork match programme went out of the way. John Caulfield said he welcomed John Gill and his team to Cork, and everyone knew it was a bit of niggle in that, but like factually correct in the sense of, you know, Gill would have been listed in various forms. But what's happened here now this time is that this has been going on in Ireland for a number of years due to the requirement to have a UEFA Pro licence. But the Filippo situation, they just went and got to the Europa League group stages and put it, basically, and this sounds a bit dramatic for a League of Ireland story, but the story was out there for Europe to see. I mean, Filippo not having a pro licence was a news story on global news sites around the game with Arsenal because you're playing a Premier League side. Oh, look at this quirky story. And as a result, it's completely alerted UEFA's attention to this arrangement that they had. And I think they have then been in touch with the FAI to say, is this happening in Ireland? Is this what's going on? And as a result, the Dundalk have had to come out and make this statement today. Now, it's important to point out, I think, I've written about this for tomorrow's paper. Like on December the 8th, 2 days after the FAI Cup final, the Dundalk released a statement to say that Filippo takes over as the new head coach. During the off-season, they have signed a number of players, and the only person quoted on most of the press releases was Filippo, apart from one where a player said he signed after speaking to Filippo. People who, you know, you speak to people around the place who've watched, you know, been around in pre-season and whatnot. Shane Keegan at times has been, in fact, back working in the office on sort of non-football related matters, because I've spoken about the quirky situations as Dundalk over the last year a few times. They have American owners. A lot of people have left, be it staff or volunteers, for various reasons. And even Jim Magilton spoke today about how he was involved in getting a licence. It's been all hands on deck as far as I know. And there have been times at the start of the season where Shane Keegan hasn't even been on the training ground. But today we had a press conference where they are coming out and saying that there will be a collective effort to pick the team. But if there's a debate or something, Shane Keegan will have the final say. I think, a lot of people in Irish football have been here before, and they're sort of looking at that with a little look and a little sort of a little smile, and they're saying, well, let's see what things are like in the sideline in the coming weeks. Because really, personally, in stuff I'll be doing about Dundalk, I'll be referring to Filippo Giovagnoli's side, because that's my impression and belief of what they are. And I would suspect that a lot of other people will be doing the same. But they have to do this by the letter of the law. And I suppose that knocks the ball back into the court of other people. But I was watching the 6-1 News there earlier on, and a straight bat reporting that Shane Keegan has taken over, as though congratulations, and Filippo has been demoted in some way. I don't believe he's been demoted in any way.
What's their European situation this year?
So they've qualified for the the UEFA Conference League. This is another story, but the Shamrock Rovers are the champions, so they go into the Champions League, and like Dundalk last year, if they get knocked out of the Champions League, they go into the Europa League, and you try and, you know. But now the other Irish clubs go into this UEFA Conference League. In fact, Rovers have to win one round of the Champions League to stay in the Europa League passage. But otherwise, everyone else, all the sort of the lower tiered, nations in Europe go into this UEFA Conference League, which is they're trying to make the Europa League more elite, and the UEFA Conference League is going to be where all our non-league winners go. But listen, basically the short point of that is they have to compete in Europe this year. They will have a UEFA delegate coming, so I understand for appearances why they have to do some of this, but it's just, listen, they have to come out and do what they have to do for their own reasons, I suppose. But people working in the media and so on have to do their jobs as well and point out that really, you'd need to see more evidence that someone is having the final say on stuff, rather than necessarily taking those words and saying, oh, that's definitely what's happening. Of course, that's what's happening. I think a lot of people in the know really know what's happening here.
Well, I guess the short of it is they can't afford another 50 grand fine.
Well, this is it. And I would say that the application of the pro license rules in various jurisdictions has been, Stephen Gerrard started off at Rangers without one. Andrea Pirlo at Juventus until he got one at short notice. And you can debate the system and how hard it is to get on these courses. And as it stands, Filippo Giovagnoli, he can't get on one in Ireland until 2022.
Saw that, yeah.
So, I'm sort of asking people today, they are trying to get him on one in other countries. So the question is, let's just say tomorrow, just by complete chance, a spot pops up in, Montenegro or somewhere, and he can get onto it, and he applies for the course, and he's on the course, and so did they then come out and say, actually, he is now the manager? Remember that whole thing we did? Listen, we have a situation Stephen O'Donnell at the moment is the manager of St Patrick's Athletic, but doesn't have the pro license. But they have Alan Matthews on the coaching staff, which ticks the box. It's just so we've seen that done before, and it's happening and it's ongoing. It's just that Dundalk, by virtue of their own success, have put themselves on the radar of UEFA. But the extent to which they've gone out of their way today to do a big press conference and announcement, this is going to raise further questions, put it this way.
Oh, do you think so? I would have thought this will satisfy UEFA and let's all just... No. You don't think so?
I don't believe so. No, not if people keep asking the questions about it. I don't think it would be... I don't know. I don't know what you think. But if we all just go along with it and start calling them... Shane Keegan's side, had a good win last night when we suspect, and that really it's...
No, I get that, but just in terms of from a UEFA, sorry, I'm interrupting because the clock's against me. Yeah. I guess it just comes down to however it's reported on this small island here, but it's when they're in European action, it's to avoid the fine and for UEFA to save face as well. And I don't know. Are UEFA going to send someone down and listening in the team talks and who's picking the team and all that kind of stuff?
I see your point, but I think UEFA came onto the radar of this thing during the autumn around the Europa League games where Dundalk were trying to say they were doing this with the same personnel. But then there was obviously interviews and discussions, where it was obvious.
But wasn't he was also on the sideline a bit, and he had his fancy clothes and his hat and everything. There was a degree of everybody look at me, and then in the subsequent games he was chilling out a bit more, and he wasn't even on the sideline.
He was banned he had to be in the hotel, I think, for one of the games.
So if you just don't wear your nice clothes this time and just sit there, will you, and manage the team that way, we'll get away with it, kind of thing.
Well, the one thing I would say is, and I think it's an important point to make. Also, my understanding is that I don't think players are too bothered by all of this.
I don't think so.
I don't think players are. So if they start the season winning games,
yes,
and they start winning matches, it doesn't become that much of a thing. But obviously, if things maybe aren't going as well, it's just one of those ones where you're putting a bandage over something, and it's a very Irish football thing. It's a sort of a quirky story. And I understand the reasons why it's happened. It all goes back to the fact that they did appoint managers from absolutely out of the blue last August from the New York youth scene. And this was kicking the can down the road, thinking this wouldn't become an issue at some stage. It was going to catch up with them eventually. And it has. He's done fine. But obviously, this is their solution to it. I'm not sure that's going to fly over a period of time.
Listen, clock's against us. I should mention, by the way, extraordinary in Turin. Juventus are now level on aggregate. They have gone from 1-0 down this evening to 2-1 up. Federico Chiesa with both goals. Porto down to 10 men, 68 minutes on the clock. So Juventus back level, 3-3 on aggregate. Dortmund still cruising, 5-3 up on aggregate. And football on off the ball is with thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit gamblingcare.ie. Dan's keeping an eye on the game. We've got Louise Quinn, Irish international, with us next.
Football on off the ball.
With Paddy Power. Only the cream of the crop pick up Champions League medals. Jonathan Greening's got one. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
Future of Work with Jess Kelly and Gavin McLaughlin.
On episode 1 of the new series of Future of Work, we're looking at well-being.
What does it mean? What role do managers play? And what are the consequences of getting it wrong?
Future of Work with Jess Kelly and Gavin McLaughlin.
Thanks to VHI Healthcare.
On News Talk.
Listen and subscribe to the podcast now on newstalk.com or on the News Talk app.
Still running 1-month marathons. Still pledging every penny. Still beating batter and raising dough. Still shaving beards, dyeing heads and waxing legs. Still challenging family and friends. Still keeping up keepy-ups. Still giving everything we can. Cancer is still here, but so are we, every step of the way. To get support or to donate, visit the Irish Cancer Society at cancer.ie.
The moment you see the new Volkswagen Tiguan, you just know. It's equipped the way you want it equipped. It's connected the way you want it connected. And it's powered the way you want it powered. Plus, with PCP finance from just 0% APR, everything else falls into place. Follow your instinct. Search Volkswagen Tiguan now. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply. Visit volkswagen.ie/211 for further information. Volkswagen.
Get ready for the Cheltenham Festival with the Boyle Sports app, with markets available on every festival race, plus free live streaming on all UK and Irish horse races. The Boyle Sports app has got you covered. Need to study up? Check out our Racing Post insights or watch our exclusive video previews with Cheltenham Gold Cup winning jockey Robbie Power. The Cheltenham Festival on the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Boyle Sports. This is betting. Gamble responsibly. See gamblingcare.ie. 18+.
DMX Dublin is back, and this year we're bringing Ireland's largest marketing event to you, virtually on March 25th, featuring incredible keynote speakers from Byron Sharp himself to Sil Saller and Mark Ritson, and other great speakers to be announced. DMX Dublin brings you the best, online on one stage in one day. For anyone looking for real insights to deliver real impact in their organisations, DMX Dublin is the must-attend marketing conference of the year. Sign up now at dmxdublin.com, supported by Media Central and News Talk.
Fuel the Future, the reboot. Join Fuel for a free virtual event tackling critical questions about what life looks like post-COVID. Our expert panel includes economist David McWilliams, GP Sumi Dunn, Managing Director of Festival Republic and Electric Picnic Melvin Ben, and World Rugby Council's Sue Carty. If 80% are to be vaccinated by June, why wouldn't a festival go ahead? Is working from home here to stay? Join us live on March the 10th at 12:30 p.m. To register, visit fuelthefuture.ie.
Cancer is still here, but so are we, every step of the way. To get support or to donate, visit the Irish Cancer Society at cancer.ie.
Football on off the ball.
With Paddy Power. Ready for your next big move? The trip from the fridge to the couch. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
Now you're welcome back. So again, ladies in the Champions League, if you're just tuning in, Juventus have come back from big trouble to be level on aggregate with Porto. 3-3, 2-1 to Juve on the night. As for Dortmund, all too easy, 2-1 on the night, 5-3 on aggregate. Louise Quinn is over in Fiorentina, the Irish international, obviously at Arsenal last season, now in the Italian League, and is in Champions League action again this Thursday. Fiorentina played Manchester City last week, lost 3-0 in the first leg, and they have City travelling to Florence this Thursday. So a couple of days ago, I caught up with Louise just to check in, talk Champions League and how life is going in general. All right, very happy to say Louise Quinn is with us, regular voice in the show these days, enjoying sunny Florence. Louise, how you doing?
Yeah, good, Joe. Not too bad, not too bad.
Champions League defeat during the week in Manchester against Manchester City. 3-0. Sounds very comprehensive. What was your feel for the game? Was it that kind of a game?
Yeah, I think we kind of knew it was going to be one of those games where we were going to have to be very, very well organised. They were going to have definitely the majority of the ball, and we were just going to have to then, go off by creating breakaway chances and potentially set pieces. But yeah, obviously we started the game off. So I suppose one thing in Italy, I suppose, the pace isn't what England is like, and City came out of the blocks, and 2 goals in 4 minutes from and from exactly what they do and what they do really well, and we just weren't prepared for it. Just kind of getting us to the end line, the winger taking on 1-on-1, dinking it to the back post, and then on the other side the same, playing a front post, Ellen White. So it really was a disaster of a start, but we really did settle into it. And I know it's one of those defensive games for us, but like really looking through the video, we were well organised. We tried to take the chances when they came. There weren't too many. There really was maybe only one clear chance that really could have scored, that would have made it 2-1 at the time. So it was a bad start, but then overall we were pretty pleased, and but then obviously coming to the end, letting in a third just is that kind of, that just let it slip away that little bit, 2-0 is a doable scoreline, to keep it competitive and more competitive. 3 does just make it that little bit tougher. But they were, when you turn to the side and you see Rose Lavelle and Sam Ewis coming on as substitutes, you're like, what sort of squad is this like?
So the tempo they can play at is a real step up for a lot of Italian teams, and certainly Fiorentina. Yeah, absolutely. It was something that they kind of weren't, I suppose, expecting as much, or and it's been, we didn't have, I'm sure it's the same with City, but not much time to prepare for it and to kind of get that, and it's just a different way of football here, and playing at that pace isn't the norm. So a couple of us kind of knew what was coming, but to still try stop that, or to try get it across to the girls that this is going to be real, go for majority of the game. We've got to try keep up and play smart, but we definitely settled into it. At bits you think it's that they are taking the foot off the pedal a little bit, but they were still really trying to get through and obviously finish the game off in the first leg. So just that third goal then just really was fairly annoyed about that. So part of you was probably thinking during the game, I remember this kind of pace, I remember this kind of thing, this is vaguely familiar.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose it was just that kind of difference, I suppose, obviously when I played with Arsenal, we're up and we're pressing and we're high, and where this was kind of, obviously a bit of a deeper press. So I was like, this is bringing back memories, or literally, the few months ago we played a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2, whatever you kind of want it to be. We also did the same against Germany. Just there, so I was just, I was kind of connecting with that and trying to figure out and trying to guide the girls about, how we can kind of approach it and play it, and but obviously just again having to mark the likes of Ellen White like that, just she's a class act at the moment, and finishes things on her first touch the ball, every time. It's a trait of hers, but it's so hard to stop.
Well, what can you do? And then the one time you do try and dive in and get on her first touch, expecting a shot, of course she'll trap the ball and you look silly.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll slide by her, like, and she'll just be standing on the ball and then just pop it in the corner. Yeah. So but that's, again, I really just loved being back, and loved being back in England and Manchester, and and playing those types of players again. It was just it just felt good to be back.
Are City favourites, or thereabouts for the Champions League this year?
Like, I really think they are. Like, they've in the last few years, I think they've been in the semi-final twice. I think then like quarterfinals then. And yeah, and obviously the squad that you see, it's filled with World Cup winners and Player of the Years, you know, like Lucy Bronze and you know, Steph Houghton and stuff. Like you really can't deny that. But I think they're still trying to suss themselves out a little bit, you know, like as the fact that they have such a big squad and they have such a talented squad, it's hard to maybe fit them in all the time. You know, and a new manager. So I would definitely say they're up there, but they still may need that extra edge just from kind of looking at it. But when you see them in the league, they really are a different class. And yeah, so it'll be really interesting, to kind of, you know, follow the journey and hopefully look, we can kind of put it to them again, you know, next week and try, and challenge them again a little bit and make it that bit more, you know, difficult for the bus. Of course, they're definitely up there for, you know, eyeing on to be going first, and it's, you know, from what I hear, it's a big goal of theirs to do it this year. So yeah, they're going to be going first.
And in these COVID times, are they playing those matches on the training complex somewhere? Because I know they've like a gazillion pitches and mini stadiums there. Is that where it was?
Yeah, but it was the same pitch that they always play on. So in the Academy Stadium and everything.
It's meant to be amazing.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. I've been on some of the training pitches, and then obviously played on that in the Academy Stadium, and you know, everything, even the locker rooms everything is top class, and obviously all on site. You know, the restaurant over the other side of the pitch. So obviously all of that was kind of closed off and stuff, but yeah, it's really something else. And you know, all the Astro pitches, and you see, and it's, you know, it's really going from the young academy players up to the top, and it is. It's just an unbelievable facility, really state of the art stuff.
Are many Italian teams trying to play a high pressing game or a high tempo game, or is that typical Italian, you know, traditional style that we'd all have in our minds? Is that just for whatever reason, culturally, who knows why, is that still very much in vogue?
Yeah, definitely. It does get mixed up a little bit. You know, it's in various teams, and I suppose even the same with us. It does kind of depend who your opponents are, but yeah, you know, I think it could be something that can be a bit more, I don't know, structured. I think sometimes when you do press, it's like, just go and press, and it's like, but how are we going to press? And should we send them one way? You know, is one of the defenders, do they have a weaker foot? Do they have, you know, someone who doesn't like pressure? Or is the other defender really good at getting out of pressure? So it's not as, I feel sometimes not as structured. But, you know, we've definitely faced a couple of teams this year that have pressed, but mostly, like, you know, we play from the back almost all the time. So, you know, there's an element of it where they maybe give you the first couple of passes and then begin the press.
How are things going domestically?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. We had a bad result there last week, and a game we were really fully in control of, and it was a derby game, so it was against Florentina, so the team that Steph would have played for a couple of years. And we were really in control of it in the first half, especially, and just couldn't really put away the chances. And then they literally 2 chances, 2 goals for them. You know, so it's really been kind of a mixed league for us. And you know, you don't like to use it as an excuse, but we are really, really low on players at the moment. You know, we got, you know, 4 long-term injuries, 3 that had COVID, and 2 that had like long COVID, and then
the fatigue and all that stuff.
When they had to get the heart test done, they were showing some irregularities.
Wow.
But thankfully they're just back training. But that was just before or just after Christmas. So they've been waiting months, you know, to get going, almost 3 months. And then a couple of transfers and a couple of loans, and now our squad is pretty stripped. So So we're trying to fight through it and get through it, and that's, it happens to a lot of teams during the season. But yeah, we've been hit with a hard, and so that's why I really still even feel like the game yesterday, we actually, everyone brought their game. No one stepped away, no one shied away from it. And for me, then that's the most important thing. They stepped up to the Champions League challenge against a team like City, and it could have been, if the game ended 2-0 in that, you kind of would have been really quite happy, and then for them to come back to Florence, and take us on here. So so a real mixed bag, but we're adapting, as best we can.
Even in non-COVID times, Champions League, men, women, teams tend to fly back from those away fixtures the night of the game. That always, or often do if they can, and they're getting home at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. That always strikes me as, should we not just go to a hotel if there's budget to do it, and just fall asleep and fly home tomorrow at 10 a.m? Maybe players say they can't sleep after a evening match, the adrenaline and everything. But like, I always think it's mad hearing like teams playing in like Russia and getting back at 5 a.m. They've been up all night. Why? Like, I know you guys flew back after the match, and you probably don't get a good night's sleep. Are you a fan of let's just get out of here and get home to our own bed whatever time it is, or what's your thought on that?
I think for me, it totally depends on the time of the game. Then definitely. So because this was like a slightly later kickoff, and then the hour difference, it was a kickoff at 4:45 our time, but then the hour difference just changed, because we did the same when we went to Prague, but it worked out quite well, because also Florence airport is closed at the moment. So when we came back from Prague, we just flew straight into Florence, 20-minute, 15-20-minute bus journey home, whereas then we had to fly into Bologna, which is then an hour and 20 minutes, and so everything was just racking up, you know what I mean, and then there was none of that kind of like time difference and all of that. So last night I would have preferred just to go back to the hotel, pan out, and just get a good sleep, or at least try to at least be in my bed by as soon as possible. And then sometimes it's nice to get out, but feeling it.
Yeah, I would think you are. I remember we spoke a couple of months ago, and you're settling in, and you were making the point that cliches and all that, but players that bit quicker to hit the deck, or maybe they were kind of more nimble strikers, and you were having to become a bit more precise in your tackling, I think was the phrase you used. Are you now fully adept at nipping in there and not getting easy frees against you, or how's that going?
Yeah, it's getting there. I haven't had any cards since, so that's good. Yeah, not even the yellow, I don't think. So I'm definitely adapting. I can feel myself already that I've settled in, especially like this second half of the season. Just kind of before the Christmas break, a few weeks before the Christmas break, and now I've felt really settled, and that I can read the game a lot more here.
Right.
And then obviously just kind of it's taken a while for the back line to kind of come together and figure out our line and this, that, and the other. So that's that's come together now, and I definitely feel more comfortable and confident. And in general here, they always want you to step to the forward, but I know that's not a massive strength of mine, because I know how to kind of read it a bit differently. So I found now like a good mix, and I went right, I really need to step here, even though maybe I wouldn't, and I've kind of figured that out now. Okay, that's actually a good time to do it, or no, it's better not to do it. So it's we're finding our way.
Yeah. Would you have an interest in going into coaching down the line, like an experience like this? And you've obviously played in Sweden, and you've sampled football in lots of different places. You've got to think that's a good grounding, a good education. Do you think about all that stuff? Am I bringing up something terrible to bring up retirement in many, many, many years ahead?
No, it's definitely something you have to think about, but it's something I'm not sure about. I've done a bit of coaching in the past, and it hasn't given me that sort of buzz as of yet. But I am doing my UEFA B badge, and I want to still kind of have that backup, and I feel like I have definitely some knowledge and experience, and I really do like talking about the game and giving my kind of sense in. But at the moment, I'm not sure. But kind of for me, everything is open, and for me, it's important to get those badges, or even as I've done some analysis and of games. I think it's really important to know the game more, and I think even myself, it gives you as a player when you're going through it, you're like, okay, this is kind of the reason for that drill. It kind of breaks things down more simply, or you then look at a drill and you're kind of like, right, what's maybe the coach's idea behind it? Because I think, especially something for female footballers, we like to know what we're doing and why we're doing it. Not to question things, or not to be upfront about it, but we just want to know. And then if we get an answer, yeah, perfect, that's great. Like I'll do that for you, like 100%. But just kind of having that knowledge, I think then you get a real better understanding then of how kind of female footballers then see the game.
Right, interesting. It's funny, all that stuff. I know, I know in rugby, for instance, Warren Gatland, who coached Ireland and then coached Wales, and has coached the Lions, so he's had the English and the Scots in there as well. He said the Irish players want to know why we're doing everything. A lot of thoughts, a lot of questions. What's the logic? Whereas maybe there's a degree with the Welsh lads of do this, okay.
Yeah.
Who knows why?
I don't know. Maybe it's just built up. No, I don't know. Just maybe of some of the coaching they've maybe had before, and they want them to be proactive in asking the questions.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's responsibility. I think you kind of, and you see that then a lot with the Irish lads. There's a lot of leaders, when it comes to kind of some of the Lions teams as well. There's a
good record of captains. Yeah. So have you at the end of this season, is that your contract up, or is it a 2 or 3 year deal, or is it year by year? We'll see how it goes. Where are you? Because I look, the Arsenal thing, football is changes in an instant, doesn't it? So how much security do you have at the moment?
Yeah, so it's I basically went for kind of a 1+1. So basically it just goes into discussions again.
Okay.
If you want to stay in, and that was kind of one of those decisions, I suppose, a little bit based on COVID as well, kind of, and not just really not knowing what was going to happen. And even if the league would go ahead, because technically the Italian league it's still an amateur league. So if there was something again really badly hit, as what's happening in Scotland and in Ireland, or well, maybe not yet, but just delays, or they'll just kind of put a pause to it, or what's happening in the GAA and stuff like that. So I think for me then that was just a more comfortable thing to be I'll be absolutely open to discussions when the time comes, but let's just see where the world is, and see where I am. So and the club, obviously, we came to an agreement on that. So
okay, great. Always great to have you on. Great to hear things are going well. Louise Quinn, as ever, thanks so much.
Thanks, Miljar.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power, the Champions League. We love it as much as Neymar loves himself. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
I was Emily's earphones. We used to be inseparable, hardwired to each other. And then she upgraded to a wireless model with blue teeth. I took that badly and got in a tangle with her phone and the door handle. When her phone smashed, I tried to apologise, but Emily stopped listening to me for good. Emily called FBD's insurance team. They'll make a call on her claim and cover damages to her mobile phone. After all, support is what FBD do. Policy must have all risks applied, which is an optional additional cover, and no claims bonus will be affected by claim. Policy T's and C's apply. Underwritten by FBD Insurance plc. FBD Insurance Group Limited, trading as FBD Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Over 2 centuries, one family business in Dublin has earned a name for excellence in funeral care. Every day they continue to work hard to retain that good name. The name is Fannigan's. Dubliners trust Fannigan's to take care of them on their final journey with empathy, compassion and dignity. And Fannigan's never forget whose journey it is. In over 200 years, some things don't change. Fannigan's, when your thoughts are with them, ours are with you. The Flanagan Group includes Carnegie's, Kirwins and Nichols.
Get ready for the Cheltenham Festival with the Boyle Sports app, with markets available on every festival race, plus free live streaming on all UK and Irish horse races. The Boyle Sports app has got you covered. Need to study up? Check out our Racing Post insights or watch our exclusive video previews with Cheltenham Gold Cup winning jockey Robbie Power. The Cheltenham Festival on the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Boyle Sports. This is betting. Gamble responsibly. See gamblingcare.ie. 18+.
I'm Sonia Lennon. Every day, Dress for Success Dublin provides workshops, mentoring and presentation skills for women in need, supporting them to employment and economic independence, all for free. And that's why we need your support. Donate your commute. Contribute the cost of your journey to help others on theirs. Find out more now at dressforsuccessdublin.org.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Fake crowd noise? The Emirates never sounded so good. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
So Champions League nearing conclusion, certainly in the Borussia Dortmund-Sevilla game. Now, Sevilla have just equalised on the night, 2-2 on the night, but 5-4 to Dortmund. On aggregate means Dortmund will go through to the quarter-finals, whereas in Turin we'll have extra time, it would appear. Juventus 2-1 up in Porto, 3-3 on aggregate. Juventus have just hit the post, Cuadrado, but it's all going on. As things stand, we're headed for extra time in Turin, and Dortmund are through to the quarter-finals. We are pretty much done here in the football show. It was with thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit gamblingcare.ie. Congratulations to Afric O'Malley, who correctly identified Serena Williams as the answer in our Aldi competition. Afric, that is a €300 voucher headed your way. Enjoy that. OTB AM tomorrow, 7:30. John Duggan's going to look ahead to the Players' Championship at Sawgrass. Simon Hughes from The Athletic will be on with the lads as well, talking Liverpool. They're in Champions League action tomorrow. And then tomorrow night we'll have Wednesday night rugby. Niamh Briggs and Andy Nicholl will also have Philippe Auclair on the show as well. Tom Dunn on the way.